the second part of the tokenomics session. Also, before we start, I wanted to say thanks for everyone that feels the feedback around these sessions is really helpful, as this is a new effort in order to have all the working groups align and just to have more clarity about the work that's happening at Giveth. So I really appreciate that you all like last session with Lauren and Mitch explaining tokenomics, and that was actually something that make us make the second effort as well, and hopefully a third one. We don't really know. So before we start, I would love to do some check-ins, because I think that was really helpful last time to start and cover the things that the team wanted to know more. I don't know who put the session to. You put it that, Mitch, there?
It was me.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Lauren. So yeah, my intention for this session 2 check-ins would be to listen if someone have questions about the session 1, the first part, and to cover that, and to listen about Anarchive. I really want to know more about Anarchive, and I will pass it to Corey.
Hey there. Yes, I just want to attend because I attended the last one, which was like very helpful for me. And I'm looking forward to hearing what's coming up in this next session. Just kind of taking notes and learning as I go. Yes, that's kind of my intention for the call today, is just to keep learning, and hopefully I might have a smart question or two, I hope, or just a dumb one. We'll see. And I'll go ahead and pass this to Yas.
Wait, maybe before Yas, you take it, I just wanted to say, I mean, it's on screen now, but I put the agenda for this call in as well. So included token swaps, down liquidity, NR give versus give, token emissions, give token distribution, funding proposals, give power, airdrops, give drop. And we probably won't have time to cover all these things, but also in your check-in, you could even mention like if any of these things are of particular interest to you as we're going through, because then we can kind of like in these check-in also like kind of prioritize the agenda.
Oh yeah, thank you. I couldn't see that before. So yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks for. And to be honest with you, I like it's sort of all of the above, because I think it's kind of hard for me at the moment to pick something specifically. So yeah, I'm probably everything is a little bit too high level for me at the moment still.
Thanks, Corey. Do you want to pass it to someone?
Yes, I'll pass it to Yas.
Thanks, Corey. GM, everyone. Honestly, +1 to what Corey said. For me, all the items on the agenda are really interesting, and I would like to learn more. Generally, I'm interested about the structure of our tokenomics because it sounds quite complex with the percentages that we allocated for NR Give, the gardens, the liquidities, different farms, and so on. And I guess if we can cover these agenda items, I will generally understand more. But if I have to vote for certain of them, definitely token swaps, DAO owned liquidity, and NR Give would be my top for the call. I don't have any distractions, and that being said, I can pass it to Santi.
Thank you. Same here. I was unable to attend the first one, and I'm quite interested in point A, token swaps and DAO own liquidity. And I'll pass it to Jankin.
GM, everyone. My basic intent is to learn what's going on. Trying to find the link to this thing instead of watching, but I'm not having a good time with that. I will pass it to Carlos.
To who, sorry? Giant King, I didn't catch who you pass it to.
I think you said Carlos.
Carlos, he unmuted, but you know.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I'm here also to listen in. I couldn't join the last session, so yes, it's what's going on and understand better. I might be having lunch, so I won't talk much. I'll pass it to Ahmad.
Thanks, Carlos. I guess for me, yeah, I mean, all these topics look interesting to me. Probably one thing I would want to get out of this session is to understand how we can support Giveth ourselves. So all of us on the team, I mean, what could we do to improve like the health of the DAO in general? So like, what are like the best practices that you recommend on like a grassroots level for all of us? So, I mean, that's probably like the number one thing I would want to get out of this. Yeah, and let me pass it to Tudenko. Nicola?
Yes, thanks. Wow, amazing. I echo this. I would love to really know how to support half of the DAO. And I'm here just to really with intention to be sponge because I love these sessions. They're always fun, valuable, and I can learn and deepen my knowledge. All the topics are super interesting to me. So yeah, I'm here to focus fully for as much as I can. And I'm going to pass it to... Is anyone else here? Wait a minute. Yeah, Chio.
Hola, Cheo. ¿Quieres aprender algo en específico de esta sesión? Si no, we can throw it to Kai. Cheo, dime.
Bueno, no asistí a la primera sesión. Si tienen una guía para poderme colocar al día, pero sí me gustaría aprender me gustó mucho el título de Tokenomics. Sí me llama mucho la atención.
La guía está en el chat, si no, ahora te la mando, Cheo. Qué bueno que te interesa.
Gracias.
Y we can throw it to Kai, maybe?
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to check this out. My call actually didn't happen. Somebody did not show up. So they might show up, then I will switch over, but interested to see what's going on here. And not sure who to pass it to. Giant Kin?
No, Giant King already went, but we can throw it to Franco.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I was in the first session and I had a really good time, so I wanted to come again. And yeah, I'm really interested in learning more about token swaps and DAO on liquidity. That's definitely something that I'm interested in, and maybe token emissions as well. And yeah, I'll pass it to Mango.
Hey guys, I thought the last session was really valuable, really good. So I wanted to come to this session, and I'm interested in particular in the Giveth tokens and our give and give. And I also think the distributions, the proposals, the voting mechanisms would be really valuable to dive deeper into those. And I might be the last.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I'm the last one.
No, you are. It's me, Jake. I
Jake, sorry.
have intentions just to be heard, I guess. But no, this is always so great, especially popping open Mitch and Lauren's brain and seeing what falls out with tokenomics. I'm really all about give power right now, riding a high on that. So I'm stoked about that. And now I will pass it back to you guys.
I'm sorry, Jake. You're right. I want to know also about give power too. So yeah, I'll pass it to Lauren and Mitch.
Okay, cool. So what I heard is definitely token swaps and DAO and liquidity and NR give versus give. And people are also interested. Well, it seems like everybody's interested in almost everything except for airdrops. So we'll try to cover all those things. And I think a good place to start is probably like token swaps and DAO and liquidity, just because it's kind of like riding on the curtails a little bit of what we talked about in the last session. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to like I'm gonna kind of go out of that session thing. This is like the introduction to tokenomics where all the links are in there, and yeah, I think last time we covered kind of like how to provide liquidity on dexes and like how farming works and Uniswap v1 versus Uniswap v2. V2 versus v3. And yeah, so token swaps and DAO and liquidity. Maybe I'll let Mitch start with this. He's like done a lot of these things. I could explain it, but he will do it better.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know if you guys remember from the last session, we were trying to talk about liquidity pools and collateralization of token through having these containers that can contain multiple assets or tokens in this case. And each of these like have a reflection on the overall price of the token. So one strategy that we talked about is just putting in like hard assets, so like Ether or DAI or USDC. But in this other case, we can use this concept of token swaps that can bring us in different ways of providing DAO-owned liquidity. So a token swap at its basic principle is just, swapping one token for another. So in this example, what we did very early on is we went to some of our close partners like DAppNode, to Honey, to OneHive, to Gnosis, and said, hey, we'll swap you $100,000 worth of Give tokens for $100,000 worth of your token, of Node, of Honey, or of, I forget what the last one I said was. Anyway, that's the basic principle there. So what we usually do is once we have those tokens, the most beneficial thing that Giveth can do, or what we decided the most beneficial was, is to put that in a liquidity pool. So we just got $100,000 of node that came in. We take that inside of our own DAO. Usually this is held inside of our liquidity multi-sig, which is a Gnosis safe. So we pair that 100,000 with another 100,000 of Give. We make a $200,000 liquidity pool. And all of a sudden, all of the pairs that are matched with that other token, all of that liquidity that they own becomes in part ours. So if Node has a $500,000 liquidity pool with USDC or DAI, effectively we can leverage that liquidity through the Give token. Because when somebody wants to trade on a decentralized exchange, they want to swap DAI for Give. Well, then the routing, the path that it's going to take to get there is going to go through that liquidity pool from DAI to Node, Node to Give, and then it's done. And because there's a fat amount of liquidity at every step, the slippage or the price difference from what you expect to get to what you actually receive will be that much lower. So token swaps is a no-brainer. We don't really have to spend anything on our part. We just like swap tokens with somebody that we trust, that we're value aligned with, and boom, we all of a sudden get access to these huge amounts of liquidity. Talking about DAO-owned liquidity, this is really simple. It's just basically liquidity or liquidity pool tokens that are owned by the DAO. So when we were going, I don't know did we talk about farming programs the other week? A little bit.
Yeah.
So I think Lauren or Griff mentioned this, but the idea is that like when we have these liquidity farming programs, we're essentially renting, or people are renting their liquidity, right? They rent it to us for a little while. We pay them some rent in the form of Give tokens, but we don't actually own it, right? The user can take it out whenever we want. And so we're like kind of subject to the arbitrary whims of the end user who's choosing to rent us that liquidity. So DAO-owned liquidity is a better strategy because we actually own it ourselves, and we can make sure that it's 100% always guaranteed there. You have anything else to add, Lauren?
Yeah, a couple of things that just to mention that I thought would be like valuable to add to this a little. I put in the chat like a link to the info.honeyswap.org. You can see, and here you can see kind of like give liquidity on HoneySwap. So like when we first launched the Give farms, our main way of getting liquidity was like by incentivizing it. We were paying users to provide liquidity and like hold these LP tokens, stake them, and earn rewards. But like that's not sustainable in the long term. So then we did these token swaps with other DAOs so that like we own the liquidity with another partner DAO that like we're like in a value alignment with. And then we got a lot of Give token liquidity for that. So it's actually like because of how much the Give token price has gone down, like in the bear market, there's a lot less than there was, but you can still see like at this link, like what we have the most liquidity in. Like we had a huge token swap with Gnosis. So if you scroll down a little bit, Amin, scroll down a little. Yeah, it's like you can see like Give No, there's like 331 US dollars worth of liquidity in there. Next biggest pair is Fox Give. We did another token swap. Water Give. Water was this like really cool token swap thing that we did with like a bunch of other DAOs, where we all were kind of like, we're going to create this water token and pair our tokens with it. So we've got liquidity with that, and then you can see D2D, TEC, and then some other ones on there as well, like Node and Honey and blah blah blah. So this is kind of like a cool place to go if you kind of want to see like just like how much liquidity that we have on Gnosis chain. And we actually have a lot of liquidity on Gnosis chain from doing these token swaps. And Tropical Mango asked in the chat as well, like what's in it for other people to do a token swap with Giveth if they already have deep liquidity. I mean, a lot of the times we're doing token swaps with organizations that we're close to that have like similar liquidity as us. Like they're usually in a similar position and they also benefit from liquidity. And so it's like we're kind of creating a partnership that's like win-win. We're like, okay, we get liquidity, you get liquidity, and everybody's happy. An interesting thing to note that like with these token swaps, there's a couple of ways that we can do them or that we have done them. One is like if we just trade the tokens, we're like, okay, we gave you $100,000 worth of Give, you gave us $100,000 worth of Honey, and then you can like do whatever you want with that basically. But then the other one is like if both DAOs like decide to create a multi-sig with signers from both DAOs, and it's like we each send $100,000 to that multi-sig, and then that multi-sig controls the LP tokens, which is kind of another interesting way of doing it that like kind of creates a little bit more overhead and like the management, but then in some way also creates a little bit more security where both DAOs always have control over the token, so there's like a little bit less risk and kind of like, oh, what if that DAO just like dumps my token? DAO owned liquidity is really valuable because we don't have to pay for it, because it strengthens our partnerships with other DAOs. And an interesting thing about it too is that it actually like correlates our tokens with the other DAO's tokens too. If we have like fat stacks of liquidity with like a particular token and their token is like going up, then our token will be pulled up a little, and vice versa if it's dumping. So that's why we kind of like want to do these token swaps and these partnerships with other organizations that like we believe in and we also believe in their missions. Yeah, a lot of action in the chat. Yeah, so Ahmad is asking a question about like liquidity on Gnosis chain versus liquidity on mainnet. And yeah, they are related, but it's like, you know, usually like if there's like a liquidity pool where you can get Give token for a certain price and a different liquidity pool where you can get Give for a different price, like you can get, you know, different prices of Give in two different places, it's an arbitrage opportunity where like somebody could make money off of that by basically like buying Give in one and selling Give in the other, therefore like equalizing the price and making a little bit of a profit. So we talked a little bit about arbitrage in our last call as well. A lot of the times, like arbitrage isn't actually really being done by people; it's being done by bots. So the fact that we have a lot of liquidity on Gnosis chain is cool because it does kind of like transfer over a little to mainnet, because like there's the arbitrage opportunity. If like there's low liquidity on mainnet, the price fluctuation's high, but it kind of balances out by our bots kind of like bridging and doing crazy things and equalizing the price. But we do also like want to get more liquidity on mainnet. So, I mean, at the beginning of the call, there was also this question of like how we can support Giveth and like what we can do. And actually getting more mainnet liquidity is something that we need as a DAO, even just like to build more credibility for our token. Like right now we're trying to apply to get the Give token listed on various exchanges and just different places. And if we don't have a lot of liquidity on mainnet, then our token, then our applications to get listed get rejected. So we need this, like, we're trying to get more liquidity on mainnet so that we can get Give listed in other places. So just like, I mean, if that's stuff that interests you, you can join the Give economy research calls and try to like help support initiatives to create like token swaps with other DAOs on mainnet. Yeah. Cool. Do you have anything else to add, Mitch?
Nope. What's the next topic?
Next topic.
We got
NR Give versus Give. How about that? A lot of people said they want to hear about that as well.
Oh yeah, I can talk about that. That's for
yeah.
sure. So it's not as mysterious as it might seem. The inner give. I know how. Might as well just call it the give cult at that point. So Give, you're all familiar with, transferable token that powers the Give economy. But the NR Give is a reputation token. This is based on essentially how long you've been around and if you ask for it during the right time. So we started this in Q4 of 2020. The NR Give token only works inside of the NR Give DAO, which is an Aragon DAO. And that's the app that we use to disperse contributor payments. We pass the givebacks through there. We approve role proposals for contributors. We send out our vesting through there. So it's scoped kind of to just things that affect core contributors or important decisions that we can't just like leave to the masses and hope that they participate, like sending out givebacks. We want to make sure givebacks go out on time. So we need a reliable group of people that are going to do the due diligence and then vote on things reliably. So the NR Give is just a way of deciding your voting weight inside of the organization. So like I said, started in Q4 2020, and we distribute these on a quarterly basis. And they're non-transferable, so you can't just like give them away to someone else. The only way to mint them is through the DAO itself. The only way to burn it is through the same process as well, through the DAO. We do mint them on a Fibonacci sequence. So basically it follows the path where the amount that we're minting is the sum of the last two distribution amounts. So for example, on round 1, it was 1, and then after that it was 2, and then it was 3, then it was 5, then it was 8, then it was 13, then it was 21, 34. I think we're at 55 or 89 now. But basically, maybe you could kind of understand it. If you're not sure, just Google Fibonacci sequence. But then that's it. And so we kind of came to that as a group because this way that the current people, the people who are getting NR Give in this current distribution will have a significant amount of voting weight than people who maybe aren't active anymore or aren't as active anymore. So then that is always like increasing proportionally. So we give a good amount of voting weight to people that are here right now and participating as core contributors. That's the gist of the NR Give token. If you want to learn more about like eligibility and how that whole process works, there's some stuff in our governance process documentation, as well as the forum posts that I publish quarterly when we do the NR Give distributions. Anything I missed or some questions to answer? Thanks for taking notes. No, the NR Give holders are not the same people. So the multi-sigs, when we started them, we just asked who is around and wants to sign, and those generally stay fixed. So we're not actively trying to add more people to the multi-sig because that's sort of bad practice. But rather the NR Give pool will always be increasing by the amount of contributors that we have that are eligible and ask to be vote for tokens. So it's like the NRG is a much more open process than trying to participate in the multi-sigs. What if you miss a distribution? Well, then you miss the boat, Carlos. The principle is that we give a full month. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a rant here, you guys, because I get this every distribution. Like, can I have my tokens back? If you did it, we announce it on every community call and every governance call for a full month when the distribution is open. So the theory behind it is that if you did not check out the forum post, if you did not pay attention to the community call or the governance call, and you did not do this thing in time or ask somebody to help for you to do it in time, then you're probably not going to participate enough to actually help us pass votes, because this is actually a really great point. Thanks, Carlos. Is there's a quorum requirement when we pass votes. So a certain amount of the total supply of the token has to vote yes on the votes. So the more tokens we have, the harder it is to pass votes. So if we're minting tokens for people who didn't really pay attention for a full month, we probably don't want those people to be having tokens, because it doesn't seem like they would pay attention enough to reliably like help us pass things or like engage. Almond's got something, Carlos. Yeah, that's a great question, Almond. As soon as you're eligible, like if you want to participate and on another level in governance, the eligibility requirements, I think, is like a full 3 months, like minimum 3 months of work before the quarterly distribution goes up. But if you feel like you can be around and vote reliably, sometimes within 24 hours of a vote, then there's no reason not to engage. I see more questions here. I'm like, go ahead, Lauren.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing to this in general. It's just like the nature of NRGive tokens as being non-transferable. Like something that's interesting about it is that like they don't have monetary value. Like you can't sell your NRGive tokens for anything. It's really like a reputation-based token. It's given to contributors who've been around, who would like be able to like actively and reliably vote on things like givebacks, like Mitch was saying, and other things that pertain to contributors. So it's really different from the Give token, whereas like anybody can get the Give token by buying it on the open market, and anybody could sell the Give token also at any time as well. And our Give tokens is like this like soul-bound token concept. It's something it's with you for life, unless you lose your keys, and then maybe we could mint you new ones. I don't know. Yas asked a question about how Ggive and NRGive are different. They're like wildly different. They're super duper different. The NRGive tokens are used in Aragon for voting. And we're voting on things with like yes, no, like yes, no, it needs to meet a minimum percentage of yes, it needs to have a minimum quorum. And then Ggive is something that you get for having Give tokens and staking them. And it basically like Ggive is like the wrapped Give token. It's like you stake them in the Give Garden staking pool, and you get Ggive tokens that you can use to vote on things in the garden. It's like a totally separate DAO. Like the NRGive DAO is like the inner Give kind of like Aragon DAO for contributors to vote on things that pertain to contributors. And then Ggive is the voting token that's used to vote on anything that pertains to Give holders, including funding things with Give tokens and including things that affect the Give Garden DAO itself as well. Yep. Oh God. Yeah.
I'll just answer that real quick, Ahmad. So there was a reputation DAO, obviously, since there was a new reputation DAO. So the only reason we changed it was because we were doing the distribution sequence was different. We were just doing round 1 is 2 tokens, round 2 is 3 tokens, 4, 5, 6. And so when we wanted to swap to this Fibonacci sequence, we basically had to fire up a whole new DAO to do it.
Yep.
That's the only thing. There's no like a schism or something,
Yeah, the Fibonacci sequence thing is really cool because because you're getting like more tokens going all the time, a new contributor coming in could have a significant amount of voting power. But if you've been around forever since the very beginning and you've been there consistently, you'll always have like a little tiny bit more voting power as everybody else. So it's like there's like an element of like seniority where like, okay, you do have more tokens if you've been around longer, but it's not like so crazy where the people that were there from the beginning have like a crazy amount in comparison to people who are coming in new. People who are coming in new can still make like a huge impact because like the tokens that are being minted are just like every quarter is just like way more tokens being minted for that period. Cool. Okay. Any more questions on NRGive DAO? Because then otherwise we can move into the Give token and how it's different. Cool. Give.
Is there anybody, like, I'm curious what people don't understand about the Give token at this point. I'm like, transferable, powers the Give economy. Is there anybody who doesn't understand something about the Give token? I'm very curious.
Maybe not about the Giveth token itself, but I will be interested in exploring a bit more about the allocation of the Giveth token different budgets and how are they kind of like.
You want to know how the sausage is made? You don't want to know. Maybe that's a good time, Lauren and Almond, to move into maybe, what was that other section? About give allocation?
Yeah, we can talk about the distribution. It is like also just like right here in the Notion doc is the next thing. And like, okay, so at the onset of the Give economy, this is like crazy stuff. And I didn't even really realize it at the time we're launching the Give economy, that it's like at the launch of the Give economy, we decided which amount of tokens was going to go to like which of these pots. And it's like going to be like that basically forever. And like we can kind of move things over from one to another, like with like DAO governance. But if you go to like the section I see you scrolling on, it's like 2 Giveth tokens, NRGive and Give. And then there's like Give, transferable, and then it says distribution. There's a little drop down arrow. Yeah, little drop down arrow. There's a pie chart. Rodri made it beautiful. But yeah, so at the very onset of the Give economy, when we minted the Give token, we were like, we send it here, we send this here, we send this here, we send this here, and we like allocated a certain amount to different things. Like we initially allocated 10% of the Give token to go out as like our initial farming rewards. We allocated a certain percentage to go out in the Give drop to past contributors, and we allocated a certain percentage that's going out to like people who are like new contributors now as like this vesting token. It's like, because you weren't around for the Give drop, but now you're an active Giveth contributor, so we want to give you tokens. That's coming from this like future contributors, 9.95%. That goes to future contributors. The NRGive, here it says RGive. I'm sorry for the confusion. It's the same thing. The NRGive DAO got 8% of all the Give tokens, but like we have used actually all of that, like what we had available in the NRGive DAO, we used it, and we just recently had to pass a proposal in the Give garden to move some tokens from the garden to the NRGive pool. Do you want to say something, Mitch?
Well, there's more coming. We didn't use it all up. We only used 20%, 23, 26%. So the problem is that we are spending more than that pot was receiving from the Give stream.
I guess this is kind of like an important thing I should have really said before I started going into the breakdown of the pie chart, which is like the Give stream. And maybe I'll just link the Give stream documentation in here because it has a nice GIF, basically. Let me just link it in the chat.
Yeah. So I think what Lauren is trying to say here is everything you see in the pie chart is still held by the Give stream. So exactly 10% at launch, 100% over 5 years.
And so if you click play, Almond, it's like 10% at launch, and then over time, the rest of it goes out. So actually, we allocated to the NR Give DAO, we allocated 8%, and at launch, it was like, 0.8% of everything that will be in the entire Give economy of all the Give tokens that will ever be created. And then like over time, it will be 8% because it's part of the Give stream. And same with every other pool. It's like we allocated everything to these pools, and the Give stream is kind of like flowing out so that like the total the total amount of all Give tokens, which is like 1 billion Give tokens, goes in those different places. So this pie chart GIF is actually like the distribution of Give tokens represented as the stream. So it's like if we go back to the Notion doc and kind of like go and pick through that a little bit more, you can kind of see like the thanks, nice documentation. So yeah, that is normally how DAOs work. And actually a lot of DAOs, when they do their airdrops and they do their token launches, they show where the token is going. Like DAOs also have, I mean, people can do anything they want. They can mint more tokens later if they wanted to as a DAO. But like as Giveth, maybe we'll decide to do that later, or maybe not. But what we decided is that we're going to have this like 1 billion Give token cap, and all of it's like part of this Give stream becoming like liquid over time. And it's going to be like allocated to all these different places. And the end of 5 years, that whole 1 billion Give tokens will be in all of those different places. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. So we allocated 33% to the garden, 13% of the total supply to givebacks, 12% to crypto donors and Giveth users. This was like part of the airdrop. Give farm rewards was 10%. Future roadmap projects, this includes things like we were allocating some to GiveFi. We allocated some to like make a multi-chain Giveth trace, which we'll probably not do, so we can use them for other things, and other different like roadmap projects that were already planned, including Give Power. We allocated some to past contributors that we sent out as the airdrop. We allocated some to the NR Give DAO and some to the future contributors to go out as vesting. And that's like the whole pie chart. Like that's all of the tokens. This is the entire distribution of the total 1 billion Give tokens. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just give you the quick answer here, yes, about the circulating supply. So no, short answer, no, because everything that wasn't in the hands of actual users was not counted. So everything that was in the Give Garden that we didn't spend, in the NR Give, the future contributors pool that wasn't out in the market was not part of the circulating supply. So the bulk of the circulating supply at launch came from the Give drop, right? So just dumping all of those tokens to everybody who basically participated or that we like.
Yeah, and a really interesting thing to note on the circulating supply is that like we sent in like to CoinGecko an API basically that calculates our circulating supply that excludes certain multi-sigs and things. Like so Give tokens that are held within our liquidity multi-sig that we haven't like used for anything yet, they were excluded from the circulating supply. Same with Give tokens that we were going to allocate, yeah, like to other different things. It was like we excluded some even large amounts of Give tokens that like we have access to, but because they're not actually in circulation, they're excluded from the circulating supply. The circulating supply at launch included things that were given as the Give drop, and then included things that were going out as like farming rewards. It's like growing over time. People got like the liquid part of the farming rewards. And yeah, and over time as the stream flows, the circulating supply also increases as tokens go like more and more to each of those addresses that got them. Yeah. Cool. I see some questions about the Give stream. Is the Give stream like a confusing concept? Or where's the best place to pick that up?
I think Almond was asking if it was what makes it unique.
The Give stream
Like,
is a super, yeah, the Give stream is super cool. I actually wrote a whole blog post about the Give stream, and I can share it in the chat here. Flow into the future of giving. And basically what the Give stream's purpose was, is it was like, you know, it's not, yeah, we were thinking about it as like, okay, kind of like vesting or something. It's like, we don't want all of the give tokens that we're gonna like have in the net like forever to be like just, you know, blown out all over the place right away, because at the very beginning of an economy launch, it's a really fragile thing. There's not a lot of liquidity for that token. You don't really know who's like really like trusted parties as good holders, and you like do an airdrop and you try your best to distribute it. But the give stream is like basically kind of like our insurance policy, where like all the rewards and all the tokens that are going out, like they flow out more and more over time. So as like the give economy becomes more active and more popular, and there's more utility for the give token, then more give tokens are available to everybody, or in every pool part of that total distribution. So I think I put the link to the give stream. It's a little bit of like a shilly post, but it does kind of talk about these things. It's a little shilly, like it's like your give stream can only ever go up. But you know, a really interesting thing about the give stream too is it's like actually saved our asses a few times, and like and helped protect us against like further losses when like we made a mistake. Like for example, in this past give farm exploit, we had the malicious party who took control of those keys was able to like claim all the rewards that were going out to liquidity providers. They just like stole all those rewards that were going out to liquidity providers. But because those rewards were part of the give stream, they only got 20% of the give tokens that they would have gotten over time. And like as the DAO, the multi-sig actually has control over the give streams and can be like, we're cutting off this person's give stream. So they'll never actually get that 100% of rewards that were allocated to that pool. We just ended their give stream. They got the liquid portion, but we kept that other 80% that we allocated to go out to those farmers. So even though that the keys were compromised and they were able to steal something for the DAO, it was a lot better than it could have been. Yeah.
Oh, what's this question here about budgets?
Yeah.
Enough at this token price, but we have the garden, which is underused. I mean, other than that, like givebacks has not been consumed completely. Yeah, like those budgets are there to keep the givebacks running for many, many years. So that's not really
5 years.
5 years. So that's not really something we can touch or want to touch. As you can see, the NR give, we needed more, unfortunately, because of the way we deal with paying with contributors. And the give garden, you're right, like it was underused, right? There was 330 million give, and you know, we ended up taking some of that. I think there was a budget for the liquidity multi-sig, like 65 million or something in there, plus what's in the stream. And we've been using that to do these token swaps that we just talked about right now. Also for the Angel Vault, and then subsequently the Give Vault. That's where that give came out of as well. And then some of the stuff that we spent on the farming rewards, including the Angel Vault, and I think Give Power, or that came out of future roadmap projects.
I think we took it partly out of future roadmap projects. It's like, because we're definitely not doing a multi-chain Giveth trace, we're like, cool, we could allocate those rewards to Give Power.
Yeah. And some of these things have changed, obviously. Like we changed the way we did vesting. And so part of what was in past contributors kind of got put in future contributors. And then we also have praise rewards now that fall into the mix. So there's like, some of these are like bigger chunks, but actually they're broken down a bit more granular in other places.
Yeah. It's actually like really, I'm just digging up some old fun crazy things, and like I don't know about sharing this doc all over the place, but if you open the spreadsheet and you go to answer in purple here tab, this is when we were like first deciding the distribution of give tokens, and it's like it's basically the pie chart but broken down a little further, and it's like, okay, cool, like part of this is like the airdrop we donated to old donors, we gave to old donors to give us directly, and old donors to projects. And then this is like, where's the future roadmap projects? We got multi-chain trace, quadratic cause funding, project curation, aka Give Power, interest buyback project, aka Give Fi, microeconomy project. It's like it's really interesting, like this entire like launching a token and having a DAO. There's tons of stuff, like you're trying to predict things and what they're going to look like in the future, but you don't really know how your token's going to be used or like what's going to change in the Web3 ecosystem on perspectives and opinions. You don't know like if like possible things like hacks might happen, or you know, different projects that were like well established, if they're going to go under and they were your partners. So much changes over time. But it's like you start out with a distribution and then you're able to kind of modify and tweak it over time. Like we allocated, you know, we assumed that our NR Give DAO would have enough Give tokens for 5 years based on that 8% because of the stream. But we didn't really expect, like, we didn't have exactly a really clear plan for the way that we were going to pay our contributors, and the way we pay contributors is like by, you know, reimbursing Griff with Give tokens and he's sending the XDAI. But like if we're able to get like grants and able to bring in stable coins into Giveth, we can actually start paying our contributors with stable coins and stop using the tokens in NR Give to pay our contributors or create that reimbursement cycle for paying our contributors. So it's kind of like a lot of the work that's going on in the Give Economy Research Group is kind of tackling these like complex problems in the changing landscape so that we can kind of like manage our token economy in a way that like kind of leads to success.
I noticed we got about 10 minutes left. Was there something important that we didn't cover yet? Let's have a look. There's a session 2 document.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and it also says December 6th agenda. I think we didn't really talk a lot about voting mechanisms, and we also didn't talk a lot about Give Power. Yeah,
We
what
can
do
do
you guys?
5 minutes on voting, and then we can touch on Give Power to the best of our ability.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, so I'll try and do this as best I can. So we have many different platforms that we use for voting, right? So I chill it every time on the community call. You hear me, I'm like, we got a billion of these things, like what you want, we got it. So we have Gnosis safes, we have a token log, we have a snapshot, we have a gardens, and we have an Aragon DAO. And by extension, soon we'll have Give Power, which could be considered as another voting system. The primary one, the easiest one to understand, will be in the multi-sigs. The way multi-sigs work is that you have a certain amount of signers and a threshold of signatures. So when we create a vote in the multi-sig, there are 15 signers that are eligible to vote. And we set as a parameter that for anything to pass, we need at least 7 or 8 or 5 or, you know, minimum amount of people that need to sign this in order for it to be executed. And votes will remain there indefinitely until it gets all of the signers or somebody signs to reject it. But even then, you have to get enough signers to reject a transaction. So it remains there forever and it's not time boxed. In the Aragon DAO, we touched on it briefly. This is token weighted voting with a time box duration. So we set up a vote. Each voting app has a specific vote duration. So for the one that we use for general proposals, it's 5 days. For the ones to send givebacks investing, it's 24 hours. There's a certain amount of support that needs to be required. Usually it's very high. So like we say 85 to 90% of the people need to vote yes on it. And the quorum decides the amount of the total token supply that needs to vote yes. So not necessarily yes versus no, but the total amount of the supply that is voting yes. So that's generally how Aragon DAO voting works. And like I said, it's token weighted. So like it's all weighted against how many tokens you have. And that will decide your impact when you're voting yes or no on something. In the gardens, we have conviction voting, which is a bit tricky, and I probably won't have time to do it justice in this call, but conviction voting is essentially conviction voting is essentially a way for you to signal your favor for a certain proposal. So we have all these funding proposals, and you can put your give tokens behind them, but you can't really put your give tokens against them. You can't really vote no. You can only signal your support. And so ideally how this works is that we have many different proposals and people are signaling their support for the which ones they want to see pass or which ones they want to see pass first. Conviction essentially is a colloquial term for a function of time versus tokens. So, you know, how many tokens you're using to signal your favor for a certain proposal and how long that they're being staked for. So if I put in, well, I won't give you an example that probably won't help you, but basically putting in a large amount of tokens and holding it there for a long amount of time will generate more votes in favor of passing this proposal, or will create a stronger signal. When that signal passes a certain threshold, which usually will take a certain amount of time, then the proposal is ready to be executed. Conviction voting, votes can stay open indefinitely. They will not time out or anything. They only go away if somebody cancels it or it becomes challenged, which is another disputable thing kind of up there that we can talk about. Token log, you're familiar with it. I hope you're familiar with it. If not, you better get in there. Basically, it's a way that you can vote on issues that exist inside of a GitHub repo. And so this is just yes voting. Same as conviction in the concept that you're not really voting no against things. You're just signaling your support in favor of them. Your votes remain on these issues. You can't unstake them. The only way to get your votes back to recast them is if the issue or the vote is closed inside of token log itself. And the last one was snapshot, which again is a token weighted voting system. So we just put up a vote there. It doesn't really have like on action, but rather the votes go up there. I think the duration is 7 days now, and then you can vote whether you're in favor of it or you're against it or you abstain, or maybe it's a multiple choice and you're in favor of option one, or maybe you're in favor of option one first or second or third. You can have like a ranked voting system as well. And then we deploy different strategies, and strategies are just different ways of like counting the tokens up. So snapshot is really useful because it can count the tokens that you hold on Gnosis chain, as well as the tokens that you hold on mainnet. It can count the tokens that you hold inside of a liquidity pool, staked somewhere else. It can count the tokens in a liquidity pool on mainnet, on Balancer, on Uniswap, or on Gnosis chain, and SushiSwap or HoneySwap. So it can like detect where all of your give tokens are and aggregate them into a single voting weight score that you can use to vote on signaling proposals. I did that all really, really fast. I think that was pretty impressive for 6 minutes. And maybe I'll pass it to Lauren.
Just fast. Really? Should I just go into give powers? Like, should we give people a minute? I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it all.
I don't know. I guess, wait, I wanted to say just a couple of interesting nuances to just adding on to what Mitch was saying. Like, so the multi-sigs, yeah, the signers control basically transactions, but a lot of the times in order for like us to do like good DAO governance, we need to first like pass a snapshot that like the whole community says multi-sig do the thing. And then the multi-sigs are just like monkeying through doing the actions as voted by the community. And the other nuance of the snapshot is that when it's like aggregating all of your give tokens, it only considers liquidity pools that like we set into the strategy. So it's like if you're farming in a pool that we didn't think to include, then we wouldn't see your give tokens there. So it's only like counting certain ones. So it's not always every single give token you have anywhere in the universe. It's every give token you have anywhere in the universe that we thought that we wanted to include them. And yeah, there's also there are forum proposals that are actually like explanatory on a lot of these things. There's even one that explains like the voting parameters that we use in the snapshot and voting parameters we used in the garden. So if you want any of this information, it's all available. Yeah, cool. Okay, I can jump into Give Power in 3 minutes. Give Power. It's like we're always running out of time. Or I don't know, or should we just, I don't know. Quick Give Power, or like taking time for like any questions on the things that we covered. I'm happy with either one. Give Power launches on Tuesday. Questions? Yeah, I feel that way too. I feel like just burning through. Yeah, cool. How are you guys doing? Are there any questions on any of that madness we just covered?
Yeah, I have something that I've been thinking about. Why didn't we launch Give on a bonding curve? Like, was there like a reason why? I mean, mainly so we can control what the supply is.
The tech wasn't there. It was pretty untested, this whole bonding curve app distribution.
Yeah, and another thing about bonding curves is in some way it's limiting. Like with a bonding curve, your price can only kind of fluctuate according to the reserve ratio. It can only go up and down based on the reserve ratio. Also, for launching a bonding curve, you need to have hatchers. You need to have people who are like, I'm gonna go in and add collateral to kickstart this economy with this like minimum amount of tokens. And most DAOs, when they launch their tokens, they don't use a bonding curves. Some do, like the TEC did, and it's like interesting and experimental, but in some ways it's also constrictive. Any other questions? Cool. Do we need more sessions? Is there anything that we covered that you guys think that like you could use a whole another session on, or a lot more time on, to kind of go through slowly?
Wow, what can we say? We nailed it.
I think Tropical Mango has her microphone on, but I don't know if there's some.
No. I just wanted to say that the sessions, for me, they're very, very valuable, but it does feel like a lot to soak in one session. You know, it's really like, for me, it feels really heavy because it's so much information. So I would love to kind of do another session to dive into the other topics we didn't get to for this session. Yeah, I love them. It's just a lot. So I would love a follow-up session to dive into the other stuff.
Cool. I think we're out of time now, but I think that's something that would be really useful. Maybe actually, do we want people to still fill out those survey, Almond?
Sure. I think that sorry, before giving the word to Nicola, because I think that you want to add something. I would love to have more feedback about these specific topics. Like, for example, for me, I know that voting mechanisms, there's a bunch of information out there, but maybe voting mechanisms applied to Giveth could be a session that I would find valuable. So I can share the feedback for all of you to add more topics that maybe are coming to your mind after this session. Nicola, I think that you have something to add.
I just wanted to give my feedback because generally I find these sessions very valuable because you're rocking Mitch and Lauren, and it just gives it this this spark of, you know, the story behind, and really it gives me depth and more depth into seeing the whole development, you know, throughout the time. And yeah, I just find really a lot of value, and yes, it's a lot of information, and I feel like every time I am able to grasp it more and more, and I just find generally really a lot of value. So my feedback is positive. Immediately I just encourage to have this on a regular basis as we are growing and evolving and yeah, thanks a lot.
Maybe we can talk a little bit about this offline, but I loved the Ahmad suggestion around how to support Giveth. Lauren mentioned about getting liquidity of Give on mainnet, but maybe more angles that we can tackle how to support Giveth through the economy, through other efforts would be really cool.
I think the most obvious one is telling people to donate to Giveth. I think it's like an overlooked thing. It's like when people donate on Giveth, they think of project on Giveth, and then just recently we put in that thing where they can add a percentage to donate to Giveth, but it's kind of like something overlooked, right? It's like we're a donation platform and we need donation. So it'd be cool if people are thinking about supporting something on Giveth to support Giveth itself.
And like, would it be better to donate stable coins? Like if we wanted it to have the biggest impact?
We got lots of give, so we don't necessarily need more of those. Stables are great, ETH is great, the hard stuff.
Yep. Cool. That sounds good. But we can also try to like brainstorm some other things as suggestions for our next call. But yeah, if you have any other specific things, like aside from voting mechanisms or how you can support Giveth that we should include in a next session, send them to Almond. She'll put the information together and Kat heard Mitch and me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mitch and Lauren, especially because you're really busy with Give Power launch and still you make time for this session that I think also complements Give Power because it helps us understand what to highlight and why this is really important. So thank you all for attending, and I will get the feedback form for all of you to add your sessions and topics that you would like to have. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, everyone.